Welcome back, PetaPixel viewers. It is Chris Niccolls here, and look what I got. A brand new Sony G-Series 16-25mm f2.8. A very limited but very useful ultra-wide zoom. Let's play with it today. So as you can see, we just keep getting snow here in Alberta. We do need it. I mean, we're going to experience a drought this summer, but damn, I mean, look at the light. It's flat and gross. So we're going to wander around, maybe get to some inside interiors to really test this lens out and play with it. Also, look at this. I got a neck strap. OB Jimmy sent me this one that's made out of recycled kimonos. And I have to say, it's actually nice and soft, so I like it because I can use it wrapped around my hand and it's not annoying and thick and rigid. So let's see how that goes today.
Let me tell you about a girl I know. She traveled round for a year or so. She saw things, felt things, heard things from people who didn't know how to sing. Oh, they scream from the top of their lungs, shouting out, they wanna know I love someone. People are dying, politics lying, people directing the show. Storms are raging, earthquakes are shaking, everyone's speaking out love. Kick off your shoes and stay a while. It's alright, we'll be just fine. Oh baby, you and me, or you and I.
So previously I've reviewed the 24-50mm lens from Sony, and this is really seen as a complementary sister lens to that to provide you the ultra wide angle ranges. Just like that lens, it's very compact and lightweight. So I'm using it on a Sony a7C II today because it really does match really nicely with this more compact body. This lens gives you a 67mm filter thread. It's only 409 grams. I mean, under half a planet, under a quarter of a knock. It's really lightweight, but actually it's not missing anything. And we've still got a nice customizable button here on this side, autofocus manual focus control. This even does have an aperture ring, and I can set it for clickable or declickable function. But this is still a G-series lens, so it's not built to like a G master specification as far as the build quality goes. Still feels pretty solid. I will say the zoom ring is a little bit loose. Certainly the manual focus has kind of got a bit of a sloppy feel, but at least this lens is still weather sealed. Flare tests on a day like today? Well, luckily it's nothing that an Amaran Cobb 60 at the camera store can't fix. Check this out, we're able to test flare here, and the Sony 16-25 is doing very well. Wide open, I'm really not seeing a lot of loss of contrast here. Not any ghosting. When we stop down, we do see some of the elements start to ghost, but it's still pretty minor. We're talking very tight apertures. And what about sunstars? Check this out. Chef's kiss. Not only is Jordan beautiful, but the sunstar behind him is dramatic and dynamic. It's got fairly clear points and lots of them. So this is actually a really nice lens for shooting landscapes towards bright light sources. So the Sony 16-25 is a G-series lens. Now it doesn't have their XD linear motors, but you still get twin linear motors. And as you can see in our example, it drives this lens fast. No issues whatsoever with focusing really close to far away and back again. It's fast, quick, snappy, and silent. So we stopped into Barcelona Tavern here in downtown Calgary, right on 8th Ave, to enjoy a lovely beer and also get some bokeh tests. So here's what we found. So first off, at 2.8, you can see the bokeh is quite nice, a little bit of a soap bubble effect. We're getting cat's eye in the corner, and in certain situations, you will get a hard mechanical cutoff there in the vignetting on the corners. When you stop down to 5.6, though, again, really nice, smaller bokeh, nice and round. We're noticing that soap bubble effect, but actually the backgrounds look quite soft, quite silky, and quite smooth. So overall, I'd say this is a lens where shallow depth of field isn't always going to be in play, but shooting up close, it actually looks quite lovely. So let's take a look at the 16-25 in terms of sharpness. Now here in the center at f2.8, excellent detail. Stopping on a 5.6, I mean, if there's any improvement, you got to really pixel peep to see it. Looking at the corners at f2.8, though, we do notice some stuff. So first off, there's some distortion correction going on here. They never quite sharpen up. They're always a little bit blurry. And also there's quite a bit of vignetting at 2.8. When we stop down to 5.6, you can see things do improve there. We get a little bit more sharpness. Still that distortion correction though, so it's still a little bit blurry, but at least the vignetting largely goes away. Now we go to 25mm, it's a very similar story. We're shooting here at 25 mils in the center, f2.8, beautiful detail, doesn't really change when you go to 5.6. I'm very happy with the central sharpness. The corners here as well, though, we still see that softness in the corners, even at 25mm when shooting wide open with some vignetting. That does again go away by 5.6. One thing I will say though about this lens, I noticed at both ends of the focal range, it really doesn't matter if you focus in the center or the corners. It's actually a very flat shooting ultra wide lens, and I was surprised by that.
All right, you've been demanding it, so I am back in front of the camera to talk about using this lens for video. But before I do that, I've just got to say, like, this is the sister lens for the 24 to 50 f2.8. Why does it go to 25 millimeters? I'm paying extra for that other millimeter of overlap. That makes no sense. Chris is telling me to move on. So let's talk about how this lens performs for video. First of all, the breathing performance on this is actually quite good. This is something that we haven't seen from a lot of Sony lenses lately. They seem to be letting the breathing compensation digitally take care of it, but remember, that degrades your image quality. So it's great if this lens doesn't have a lot of movement. When you pull focus from minimum to infinity, the frame doesn't move much at all, and that's a really nice thing. I could see this being a hugely popular video lens, especially because the weight is so similar to that 24-50. You could have the two of them, juggle them back and forth on a gimbal, and they'll do a great job. If you're a video shooter and you want something small and light, this is the wide angle to buy.
So my grand conclusion is this is actually a really nice lens. I mean, even though it's not a G Master, I feel like optically it's actually really good. I mean, it's sharp, it's got nice bokeh, nice characteristics, good flare control, and beautiful sunstars. So I think anybody who wants to do like indoor interiors or out on the street photography or landscapes is really going to enjoy this lens a lot. So what else is on the market? Well, you do have the 16-35 f4. That's a great compact little lens as well. And it is nice that it's a power zoom. I do like that feature. And up to this point, that was also a really good choice for general purpose landscape. I do feel like this lens has slightly better optical characteristics, and having that extra brightness in the aperture is going to be a really nice bonus as well. You also, of course, have the 16-35 f2.8 G Master version 2. That's an awesome lens. And I do have to say, I appreciate the versatility of having the wider focal range in an ultra wide, but that being said, this is way less money, it's way lighter and smaller, and yet optically it seems to hold its own. You also have third-party choices like the Tamron 17-28 and the Sigma 16-28, and those are great lenses as well that give you a good usable 2.8 aperture, although as much as we've used those, I feel like this is optically even again a little bit better. And even if you're not going to couple this with the 24 to 50 on a light body like this, I think this makes a lot of sense even coupled with a more expensive G Master 24 to 70, for example. Still covers that same range and yet it takes up a lot less space in the bag. It's definitely more affordable, especially if you're just going to use ultra wide on a more occasional basis. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. Leave your comments below. You know what to do with those. We always read them. Subscribe. Nobody subscribes anymore. It's not cool to subscribe on YouTube, so break the trend. Be a maverick. Be a trend. Do your own thing. Subscribe to the channel out of spite for the rest of society. As well, do check out our podcast, PetaPixel Podcast. You can find it on all your favorite podcasting apps, or you can watch it on the exact same channel here. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you soon with more on PetaPixel. As I dodge falling snow here, I'm going to try to get a shot of these weirdo statues. Hey, whoa, 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 whoa.